In 1647, in the heart of Japan, a legendary man felt the cold approach of death. His hands, which had once masterfully wielded the deadliest katana on earth, now trembled with age and frailty. Knowing he had only days left to live, he felt a profound urgency to leave behind a legacy that would change lives forever. You are about to discover the profound wisdom this samurai wrote down and why his words might be exactly what you need to break free from being a slave to your own fears. However, be warned. Once you internalize these truths, there is no going back. Imagine a life lived entirely without fear or anxiety, where you no longer depend on the opinions of others to feel good about yourself. While that might seem impossible, in 1645, a legendary samurai named Miyamoto Musashi did something truly extraordinary by condensing a lifetime of battles, victories, and defeats into 21 simple rules. These rules were not originally meant for the world. They were a gift Musashi wrote for himself, a final testament before departing this life. Incredibly, these same rules can solve 90% of the problems you face today because, while our circumstances have changed, fundamental human problems have remained the same. The anxiety you feel in your modern life is the same internal struggle a samurai felt before a great battle. Although you are likely not at risk of physical death today, the social pressure you experience at work is identical to the pressure found in the ancient imperial Japanese court. Musashi found the solution to these timeless struggles. And you are now going to discover how to apply this ancient philosophy to your modern life. We will focus on the essential rules that can completely shift your perception of the world, but first, it is important to understand the man behind the blade. Before we dive deeper into his history, remember to engage with this content and subscribe so you don't miss any further wisdom. Miyamoto Musashi was no ordinary warrior. By the age of 13, he had already killed a man in a duel, and by the age of 30, he was considered invincible. While academic consensus varies, many believe he won more than 60 duels and never lost a single one. However, the true plot twist of his life was that the more he won, the more he realized that the real battle was not against other samurai, but against himself. He struggled against his own fears, desires, attachments, and weaknesses. Through this internal conflict, he discovered that true strength does not come from conquering others, but from conquering oneself. This is exactly what the Dokkōdō teaches. Dokkōdō translates to the path of solitude or the path of walking alone. This isn't about social isolation. Rather, it is about emotional independence and the strength of not needing anyone else to feel complete. Consider how many times you have made decisions based on what others might think, or how often you have stopped yourself from acting because you were afraid of being judged. Musashi understood that as long as you depend on external factors for your happiness, you will never be truly free. True freedom is what makes a person unwavering. To understand how to apply this today, we look at 5 specific precepts of the Dokkōdō that can transform your life. The first precept is to not seek pleasure for its own sake. This doesn't mean becoming a monk and renouncing the world. It means refusing to be a slave to your desires. Our modern society is built on instant gratification, Netflix, fast food, and social media, all designed to give you a dopamine hit. This creates a psychological dependence where you become a victim of your circumstances. Musashi realized 400 years ago that those who control their desires control their lives, while those controlled by desire control nothing. The second precept is to not cling to things, which is a revolutionary idea in our modern consumer-driven world. We are taught that happiness comes from having more money, more followers, and more goods. But Musashi discovered the brutal truth. The more you hold on to, the more fragile you become. When you lose something you are deeply attached to, you feel as though you have lost a piece of yourself. This doesn't mean you cannot own things, but rather that things should not own you. The third precept is to have no personal preferences or identifying thoughts about yourself. This means you should not define yourself by your temporary likes or dislikes. Because preferences change, identifying with them puts you on a constant emotional roller coaster. Unwavering people have an identity that goes beyond what they like or dislike in the moment, which is incredibly liberating. The final precepts separate the ordinary from the extraordinary and challenge everything. We are taught about success and relationships. The fourth precept, to not seek to be loved or kind, might sound cruel at first, but Musashi is actually advising you to stop trying to please everyone. It is a call to stop changing your personality to be accepted or staying silent to avoid conflict. Seeking constant approval is a prison. Unbreakable people do not need the validation of others to feel good about themselves. They choose to be authentic even if it means they won't please everyone. The great paradox Musashi discovered is that when you stop desperately trying to be loved and instead embrace your true self, you actually become more attractive because authenticity is magnetic. People are naturally drawn to individuals who possess the courage to be authentic and real. This leads us to Miyamoto Musashi's fifth precept, which advises that one should not let themselves be guided by feelings of lust or love. While this may seem controversial, Musashi was not suggesting that you should avoid love or relationships entirely. Instead, he was teaching that you must not become a slave to those feelings or allow them to control your life's decisions. We often see people making terrible choices when they are blinded by love, such as giving up on their lifelong dreams for another person or changing their entire personality just to maintain a connection. Musashi understood that true love is not defined by possession, but by mutual freedom. When you love someone without becoming emotionally dependent on them, you offer the best of yourself. Conversely, when you love desperately, you only offer your weaknesses. Modern science supports this philosophy, as a study published by psychologists at the University of Rochester found that people in relationships based on healthy interdependence, rather than emotional dependency, have a 73% higher probability of having lasting and satisfactory relationships. A neuroscientist with over 20 years of experience recently explained that when you don't need someone else to feel complete, you can choose to be with them for the correct reasons. This creates a foundation of freedom and lifts a giant weight off your shoulders, as you realize you don't need anyone else to be truly happy. To move from bar philosophy to actual transformation, we must apply these teachings to modern problems, such as the anxiety caused by social media. Many people feel a sense of failure when a post doesn't receive the expected number of likes, which is exactly the kind of external validation Musashi warned against. The solution is simple but challenging. Stop posting to impress others. You should only share something when you genuinely want to, and once you do, you must resist the urge to check for reactions every 5 minutes. If you try this for a week and ask yourself whether you are posting for yourself or for others, you will realize how many of your actions are motivated by a need for validation. Once you stop, you free yourself from a prison you didn't even know existed. Similarly, in the workplace, many feel pressured to compromise their values or feel stressed because they cannot control how others perceive their work. Musashi would advise you to perform your work with excellence, but remain unattached to the outcome. You control the effort you put in, but you cannot control the reaction of others. By focusing on the process rather than the result, you become far more efficient at what actually matters. This same logic applies to toxic relationships and the fear of being alone. The principles of the Dokkōdō make it clear that it is better to be alone and authentic than to be accompanied and fake. Loneliness is not merely the absence of people, but the absence of authentic connections. When you apply this, you stop tolerating disrespect, and you stop lowering yourself just to keep the peace. By refusing to pretend to be someone you aren't just to be accepted, you naturally begin to attract people who value your true self, trading quantity for quality. This mindset extends to consumerism and materialism as well. Musashi lived with the bare minimum, not because of poverty, but by choice, discovering that the less you need, the freer you are. This doesn't mean living like a beggar, but rather distinguishing between true needs and temporary desires. A practical method to gain control over impulse spending is to wait 48 hours before buying anything non-essential. You will often find that the desire fades, proving that many of our purchases are just attempts to impress others. The deepest and most transformative part of Musashi's teachings comes from his own reality. He wrote his 21 precepts while facing stomach cancer, literally staring death in the face. This gave him absolute clarity on what truly matters. The inconvenient truth is that we are all going to die, yet most people live in denial, wasting time on things that have no significance. When you realistically accept your mortality, your priorities shift entirely. You stop worrying about opinions, you stop postponing your dreams, and you stop living the life others expect of you. As St. Augustine once said, you should take care of your soul as if you were to die tomorrow, and your body as if you were to live forever. To be unwavering does not mean you are insensitive or without fear. It means having a foundation so solid that external storms cannot bring you down. Musashi achieved this through a lifetime of battle, and while it isn't easy or fast, it is possible for anyone. If you knew you had only 1 week left to live, you would immediately drop your masks and let go of your fears. You don't have to wait for a deadline to start living. Seeking this knowledge is an act of courage, but the final choice remains yours. Will you just keep the knowledge, or will you have the courage to apply it and finally become whole?